Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go through the distribution announcements on the UMAX ETF, specifically the weekly ETFs including ULTY, which is the Ultra Income Options ETF that I have in my portfolio. And I'll also be updating you guys what I'm doing with my option income portfolio. So currently I have both ULTY as well as MISTY, which is MSTY, and I've done some portfolio reallocation, which I'm going to update you guys in this video as well. But first, let us take a look at the latest distributions for this week. So today is the 10th of September and UMAX had just released their latest distributions for the Group B ETFs as well as their weekly payers. Let's take a close look. Alright, so this is the full list. So from here onwards, you have the weekly payers, and then from here, which is the bubble and down all the way to PLTY, these are the monthly or rather the 4 weekly payers. Let's take a look at ULTY first, which is the fund that I'm currently holding. So ULTY announced a distribution per share of 0.0928 for this week. So today is the 10th of September. Tomorrow is the X date and record date, which is 11th September, and then the payment date would be on this Friday, which is the 12th of September 2025. So that means to say today is the last day that you can buy the ETF if you wish to collect the dividends or the distribution per share of 0.0928. So this is quite encouraging to see because last week we have the distribution per share of 9 cents, which is 0.09. So for this week, we have a slight increase of that distribution, and I've also noticed kind of like a slight bounce up from the ULTY price per share. So the downtrend seems to have caught the bottom, at least for this moment. There is some slight recovery, and that is quite heartening to see. So we also have other weekly payers. If you wish to see, you have all the weekly payers here. And so far, from what I see, ULTY is one of the better performing ones, but of course, you have some other very good ones as well. Moving on, the Group B ETFs, I used to hold NVDY and PLTY. So they are also paying quite high dividends or high distributions per share. However, I've since liquidated them and reallocated them to ULTY. So yeah, I still prefer ULTY because it is a diversified covered call ETFs rather than a single stock covered call ETFs which carries more risk, more concentration risk to be specific. And this I will cover this a bit more on the second portion of my video today. But first, let's update my tracking sheet for my weekly income ETF, which is ULTY. So as we know, the distribution per share is 0.0928. Let's confirm that again. Alright, so for ULTY is 0.0928, correct. And I have increased my total shareholdings of ULTY to 10,300 shares. So that will give me a gross amount of $955.84. And as a non-US tax resident, I'm subjected to a 30% withholding tax. So that works out to be $669.09. So that is the total distribution that I'll be getting for this week. Alright, so towards the second part of the video, I'm going to give you guys a quick update on my portfolio reallocation when it comes to my option income ETF. So I've taken action to reduce some of my MISTY holdings in order to rotate some capital to add more ULTY. As I mentioned in the earlier part of my video, ULTY is a diversified covered call ETFs, so the risks are more diversified. There's less concentration risk. And also, for the extra capital, after reducing my MISTY holdings, I've rotated the capital to buy more MSTR. In fact, most of the capital, after I reduced my MISTY holdings, I had actually allocated most of the capital to buy MSTR, which is the underlying stock of MSTY. So basically, I'm still having a bullish position in the same underlying, which is MSTR shares, MicroStrategy, or rather known as strategy right now. And there's a reason for me doing so. Let me show you guys the reason. Okay, so the reason for me to buy more MSTR instead of maintaining my capital in MSTY is because I have turned bullish, very bullish. In fact, I've turned very bullish in Bitcoin. So, with the upcoming interest rate cuts next week, I wish to capture the upside before Bitcoin price runs up. So, as we all know, MSTY is having the MSTR as the underlying. So, they are basically selling synthetic covered call to collect premiums on MSTR. So, by me rotating the funds, selling MSTY and rotating the funds to MSTR, which is the underlying, I keep the same bullish call, which is the underlying MSTR, but I have a uncapped upside. So basically, as we all know, the covered call ETFs, in order to get the regular income, regular monthly income, you sacrifice a bit of the upside. So basically, you sacrifice the upside to get the consistent payout. So I have a bit of a change in position. Right now, I'm very bullish BTC, which is Bitcoin. So I wish to have exposure to a uncapped upside instead of having the regular income. Right now, I wish to have exposure to an uncapped upside. Therefore, I changed my Misty holdings into MSTR. And the second reason is because if I buy the MSTR shares, I can have the option to write my own cover calls. So right now with Misty or MSTY, I'm receiving the distributions on a monthly basis. But if I have my own MSTR shares, I can have the option to write weekly covered call and collect the option premiums weekly instead of monthly. And this flexibility is something that I really like. I can't do it with ULTY because ULTY is a diversified fund. So I can only do it for MSTR. So therefore, this is something that is an advantage in my opinion. And adding on to that, I can also avoid the 30% withholding tax on my distributions if I write my own covered call option. So this is something that is the 30% withholding tax is a huge drag in terms of the total returns on my distributions. So if let's say use the funds to buy MSTR and I write my own cover calls, I can totally reduce this 30% withholding tax. So this is something that is very, very good in my opinion. The only disadvantage, or rather the only downside that I currently am facing is that in order to write my own covered call options on MSTR stock, I need to have at least 100 shares of MSTR, and that is a huge amount of capital, which I currently do not have. Even after reducing some of my Misty MSTY shares to buy MSTR, I'm not able to hit 100 shares of MSTR unless I sell everything for my MSTY and rotate everything into MSTR and also add pump in additional capital, then I have 100 shares of MSTR to do my own covered call option. However, that will take time as well. And also I also do still like the passive aspect of having MSTY paying me distributions every month without me lifting a finger. So I do appreciate MSTY's convenience as well. So I still want to retain some of my capital with MSTY, but I only rotate uh maybe some of the portion, about half of the original capital in MSTY into MSTR in order to get the uncapped upside. So currently this is my position. This is what I'm doing with my portfolio. I do have to give you guys a disclaimer that none of this, whatever I shared here, is financial advice. So let me just write it down here as well. Everything here is not financial advice. So please always do your own due diligence and research into the markets before making any decision. All right. So this is just a quick update on what I'm doing with my option income portfolio, as well as the update with the latest distributions. I hope you guys find this informative or entertaining. Again, not financial advice. Please remember that. And yeah, that's all for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.